So Nude Foods is a plastic-free, zero-waste grocer. It's also a natural foods grocer, which I think is quite important.
How did you first approach a business where there is no blueprint in the country, there is no existing business model?
I thought to myself I could open this and kind of treat it like a side hustle. I could have this like store, find a couple of people to help me run it, and just keep it as a side hustle. But I very quickly realized that that wasn't the case.
Welcome to the pod. It's a privilege to have you on today.
Thanks, Shana. It's great to be here.
As I mentioned earlier, when we were starting this, we kind of compiled a dream list of founders and innovators that we would like to have on the pod. And, your name was one of the names that were right at the top of that list. Because, it's one thing to be running a successful business, but to have it being run sustainably as well, it's really something to be proud of. So thank you for taking the time out to be here today.
Cool, pleasure. Thanks for saying that. It's
Sure.
very flattering.
Now, as the founder of South Africa's first plastic-free grocery store, you've spearheaded a whole movement. But for those who are new to the brand, can you tell us a little bit about Nude Foods, what it's about and who it's for?
Sure.
Yeah.
So Nude Foods is a plastic-free, zero-waste grocer. It's also a natural foods grocer, which I think is quite important.
Yes.
So the types of products that we carry are also very much focused on health and wellness.
Sure. Yeah.
But the core ethos of the business is that it's the majority of the products are unpackaged, and the reason for that is to eliminate single-use plastic from the traditional grocery environment.
Sure.
So what that means is products are sold in bulk and they're sold by weight, which allows people or customers to use a refill system, which looks like either them bringing containers from home and filling them,
Sure. Yes.
or purchasing containers with us and then filling them in and hopefully returning and reusing them.
Sure.
So it was really launched with the intention of disrupting the mainstream food retail environment.
Sure.
Which I think at least in its initial years, it definitely made people think. And made other retailers, consider doing similar things. It's really for consumers, Cape Town consumers, who would like to explore a different way of shopping or consuming.
Definitely.
A more mindful way, if I can put it that way.
Yeah. I just want to throw a few rapid fire questions your way,
Sure.
just so that we can get to know a little bit more about the person behind the brand. First question. As someone who does not consume meat, what is your favorite meat-free dish in Cape Town? Where is it as well?
So I'm a huge fan of Indian food, and there's a restaurant chain called Prashad who do vegetarian, vegan dishes only. For me, their food's amazing. My absolute favorite is they do a vegan palak paneer, which instead of cheese has tofu in it.
Sure, nice.
So that's my go-to.
If someone is walking into Nude Foods for the very first time, and I mean, they're a little bit intimidated by the scales and all the jars and all of the different options, what is one must-try product that they need to have? Like, what is that gateway product to the zero-free?
I'm glad you used that term. So we have 2 nut butter grinders in the store, so which are quite novel. It's not a very common thing in South Africa. It allows you to actually grind your own nut butter real time. And we have a peanut one and an almond one, and they're both equally famous. And there are literally people who drive from all over the outskirts of Cape Town to fill up on their peanut butter or almond butter. So,
sure, I can imagine.
I'd say the nut butters are probably
great.
The key.
So every founder has an origin story. Would you say that you were the kid reselling items from the tuck shop at school, or was there a specific milestone early on that kind of pushed you into entrepreneurship?
let me answer it this way.
Hmm.
From a very young age, I struggled to have a boss.
Oh, okay. Sure. Yeah.
So in my early uh, career days, I did work for companies, and I had managers and bosses and people, but I found that dynamic quite frustrating. So in my mind, I was always going to be self-employed at some point. And I think I always had kind of an inquiring mind when it came to business or opportunities. So I was always looking for an angle on things or coming up with ideas.
Sure.
I have heard from some entrepreneurs a similar trait where they
Yes.
just find actually taking instruction from anyone else quite difficult. And
Sure.
it's really just like an internal I don't know what you want to call it, like just an internal flair for pioneering something, or
Yes.
kind of just doing your own thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think I've had that probably since childhood.
Amazing. Okay, great. Now, before Nude Foods was even an idea, what would you say shaped how you think about entrepreneurship and living sustainably? I read an article where you mentioned something about reading a book on zero waste. So, yeah, if you can talk me through that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I would need to, just to give it context. I went through quite a dramatic lifestyle change around I think it was about 2012,
Sure.
and one of those changes was my diet changed quite dramatically. I became predominantly plant-based,
Sure.
and I just started prioritizing health and wellness.
Okay.
After many years of not prioritizing that, I was
Sure.
living a very Western, fairly unhealthy existence.
But was there something that brought that on, or were you just like, okay, I've had enough of not feeling healthy?
Yeah, so I worked in the marketing, advertising, like corporate communications industry for about a
Sure.
decade.
Oh, yeah, corporate.
And
They'll do it.
and yeah, exactly. So it was just very long days, working crazy hours, living on caffeine. I mean, I was actually telling someone this the other day. I used to drink about 8 cups of coffee a
Oh,
day,
wow.
which is
Okay.
like, when
That's
I
a
think
bit.
about that now, is insane. But I literally ran on coffee, and I would eat terrible foods, like junk food mostly. It wasn't really. So my lifestyle just wasn't at all balanced or healthy, and I did that for a very long time. So the thing is, you can get away with it when you're younger, but as you start aging, like it catches up with you. And I got to an age where I was just feeling completely sick. Like I had very low energy,
Yeah.
just burnt out really.
Sure.
So it was from that place of just not feeling physically well that I started like questioning certain things, and
Yeah.
it wasn't like something, it wasn't like an overnight event where like I woke up one morning. It was a slow gradual thing where I just started to like prioritize, going for a walk or a run, or spending
Yes.
time outdoors, eating better, cutting back
Sure.
on coffees
Yeah.
and alcohol, or any other unhealthy habits.
Sure.
I also moved from Johannesburg to Cape Town around about the
Oh,
same
okay.
time. So
Wow.
I
Yeah.
prioritized the lifestyle, like the more balanced
But
lifestyle of
what
Cape
year
Town.
was that?
That was 2012 when I
Oh,
moved there.
2012. Okay, sure.
So I prioritized a more balanced lifestyle, and by moving to Cape Town, that was me very
Being
much.
more balanced. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then so through that personal journey, I started exploring meditation and yoga,
okay.
and like a
Amazing.
vegetarian diet and things like
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
And I kind of knew that I wanted to change the work I was doing.
Okay.
And I knew I wanted to do something in the health and wellness and possibly food space.
Sure.
But that said, it took me many years to actually come up with the idea of Nude Foods, and then even more years to get to the point of feeling brave enough to actually try it, to
Sure.
actually try launch it. So as I mentioned, I'd made quite a few changes to my personal lifestyle, and I was just becoming a lot more curious about lifestyle, and sustainable living was definitely a part of that.
Sure.
And there was a book that was published. I think it was published around 2013, 2014, somewhere around there. And the author's name is B. Johnson, who's also the kind of founding matriarch of the zero waste movement.
Oh,
She's a French woman who lives in the US,
okay.
and she had been practicing a zero waste lifestyle for many years, and she, through publishing this book, actually gave the movement an identity, because I think a lot of people in different corners of the world were trying to live as sustainably as possible, as plastic free or zero waste as possible,
Yeah.
but there hadn't actually been any kind of cohesion or identity in an actual movement based on that
Sure.
ethos. So, and her book actually, firstly, it was the first time I ever heard the term zero waste. I'd never even heard that term before.
So
And
she coined the term. It was from her.
yeah, I think
Okay.
it possibly existed before. I'm not entirely sure, but I know
Okay.
she kind of brought it into the mainstream, like
Sure.
public consciousness, if I could put
So
it
she
that way.
kind of created the community or the movement
Correct.
towards it, probably with some systems and yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So,
Okay.
so she published this book, and anyone
Okay.
anyone interested in living more sustainably or more waste free should definitely prioritize reading it. It really just describes the zero waste lifestyle. It's a lot of her own personal story, and so after reading that book, I became very inspired by it, and also just very curious about this zero waste lifestyle and movement.
Amazing. Yeah.
And then started following people in that space online, and just kind of researching as much as possible.
Sure. So that kind of sparked it.
That
The
kind of
book.
sparked it.
Yeah. Okay.
And then there was around about that same time, in the years that followed, that there was a growing, the movement started to really kind of take off and get traction.
Yeah.
And more I saw these zero waste stores popping up in places like Berlin, or Sydney, or
Yeah.
cities like that. I think Canada was one of the forerunners as well.
Sure.
So yeah, that's kind of really where
Yeah,
it first got my attention.
So that was actually going to be my next question. Like how did you first approach a business where there is no blueprint in the country, there is no existing business model in South Africa? So were there case studies that you were looking at? It sounds like you were looking a little bit overseas. How did you take those first steps to be able to launch Nude Foods?
So I think
Yeah.
the first thing was, I eventually decided on this concept and this idea, and decided that this is something Cape Town needed,
Yes.
and something that I wanted to do. But even after making that decision, it took me about 3 years to actually take the plunge and,
Yeah, I
and
was
open
gonna
a
ask.
store.
Yeah.
During that time, I would share the idea with as many people as would listen to me, and just
Sure.
get people's feedback.
What was the feedback? Was there a lot of skepticism?
I think because the concept was very unknown and it didn't exist, some people were like some people kind of got it immediately and thought it was great,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
others didn't really understand it, or didn't
Okay.
really see like a viability for it.
Okay. Sure.
But yeah, to answer your question, once I decided I'm doing this, um, that problem presented itself, because there wasn't anything to copy or to even reference in South Africa. So what I started doing was I started reaching out to zero waste stores that existed in other parts of the world.
Sure.
Literally just kind of Googling or looking on Instagram, finding places, and then just like DMing them or emailing them, whatever. And I'd say probably 90% didn't respond.
Oh, okay.
And I can talk about that. I think in the early days it was so new, and there was a lot of kind of almost people, people pioneering these types of stores were
Yes.
almost kind of keeping their cards very close to their chest,
Okay.
if I can
I
use
see.
an
I
analogy,
see.
because they didn't want to openly share things that they had learned through trial and error. And,
Okay. Sure.
But luckily there were one or two zero waste store owners who had a completely different take on it. They wanted to see this movement grow.
Great. Amazing.
They thought
Yeah.
the more stores like this, the better. And there was a lady in Germany and another couple who had a store in the UK, and they both responded very positively
Nice.
and gave me a lot of kind of guidance, especially in that in the very early stages.
Wow. Okay.
And it was just like, you're selling unpackaged food, so there's a risk of cross contamination.
Yes.
There's a hygiene consideration around that. So they gave me a lot of guidance around
That's
that,
amazing. Yeah.
which just gave me more confidence to kind of move forward. But that said, a lot of it was also just trial and error and your own imagination, and just try. We would try something. If it worked, we would carry on. If it didn't work, we would find another way.
Yeah, because I was going to ask, like, what was the thought process there, and just what made you feel like I mean, a lot of people, they like to live the sustainable life. They want to be as sustainable as possible, and they support sustainable brands. But what made you feel like you could really kind of turn it into a business? Because not everybody has the ambition to do that.
So to be honest with you, initially I really wanted a zero waste store in Cape Town, especially when I got into the whole ethos and the movement. But I didn't actually imagine myself doing it. I thought, like, no, someone's definitely going to open one of these soon. And after a couple of years, I realized, like, okay, it's not happening.
Sure.
And I really wanted a store like this for selfish reasons, because I wanted to shop that way, and
Great.
the types of products that we sell were the types of products I was looking for a store that
Perfect.
I could buy.
So you
buy
saw the
from.
problem and you wanted to solve your own problem.
Correct. So I always said it was born out of my own, like, frustration, or my own, for my own purposes, because I created the store that I wanted to be able for myself as a customer. When I realized no one else was doing it, I decided, okay, I'm going to take the plunge. But at that point, I was working, full time in the marketing space.
Sure.
And I thought to myself, I could open this and kind of treat it like a side hustle. Like I could have this, like, store.
Yeah.
Find a couple of people to help me run it, and just keep it as a side hustle. But I very quickly realized that wasn't the case, because I had zero retail experience.
I was going to ask you about that.
And once I actually experienced what retail entails and what it requires, I realized very, very quickly, like, that this would have to be my full-time endeavor, especially if I wanted it to succeed. So there was that first year of Nude Foods where I was literally doing. I was still doing my previous work, so I would man the store from 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. and then I'd go home, and then I would do other work until late into the evening, and then start again the next morning. So I did that for the first year, which was quite exhausting.
I can imagine. Wow.
But it was also great because it allowed me to it allowed the business to get traction in that first year, because I don't think I would have been able to have paid myself. So I also kind of needed to earn a living. So at least I had the liberty of being able to do
the safety net,
2 jobs at once,
yes,
until the business got to a point where it could actually sustain me financially as well.
What would you say is the biggest piece of, or the best piece of advice that you could give to somebody who's wanting to go into sustainable retail?
Sure, there's quite there's a lot I can think of. So I mean, I think, let me reference my own learning.
Sure.
The one key thing I learned very early on was that even though this was sustainable retail, or zero waste retail, it was still retail. And there's core retail principles that are required for a successful retail business, whether it's a sustainable model or not.
Sure.
So it's kind of retail 101. So over the years, I've had a lot of people approach me wanting to do similar type things to Nude Foods, and I always say the same thing. It's like, you need to find a really good location, that's with an affordable rent, and preferably some free parking close by, if that's possible. But also like in an area where there's like a large enough kind of catchment of customers, which is very pertinent for a package-free food store. And the reason I say that is because it's very much a chicken or eggs scenario in that sense, because you're selling unpackaged foods, which obviously means that their shelf life is less than the packaged equivalent.
Yeah.
And in order for that to work, you need to ensure that there's enough customers that are going to be buying that product. Otherwise, you're going to be writing off, tens of thousands of
a lot
rands
of wastage
of stock.
Yeah.
So over the years, I've had a lot of people reach out to me sometimes from like very small outlying towns in and around South Africa.
Okay.
Saying there's nothing like this in their town, and they would love to open a store like this. And I always say to them, don't underestimate how many thousands of customers a store like this requires to survive, because 20 or 30 or 40 people are not going to sustain that store. So that's, you need to make sure there's a customer base wherever the store is physically located.
Sure.
I think also with refill stores, it's quite an experiential type store. So even though like we do have an online offering, which is kind of growing slowly but steadily, I think the majority of people want to actually physically come to a store like this because they want to, like in our case, grind their own nut butter or refill their olive oil or their honey jar. So there's an experience in doing that.
Yes, exactly.
And it also the thing I love about that, it also actually connects people to what they're buying. So for example, with traditional packaged foods, you'll often just walk up to a shelf. You'll think, okay, I need whatever it is, honey, and you'll look at a few options and you'll just grab one. Whereas now you're filling up your honey jar, so you can actually stop and think, well, do I need a full jar of honey? Maybe I live alone and I just need half a jar for now. So
more mindful.
There's a more mindful approach to consuming.
Yes.
Which I think, but yeah. So I think the experiential aspect definitely needs to be considered, and the location of a store like ours is quite key.
As the founder of Nude Foods, I have to ask you, like, what are your personal favorite go-to products out of the store? I mean, I know that a lot of people, they'll say, okay, my products are like my babies, like I can't choose one, like don't tell me to choose one, but what would it be for, maybe just a couple of highlights that you can...
Yes, sure. So we've got quite a comprehensive food offering, but we also do personal care and home products. So I'll mention maybe one from each category, if that's okay.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
So on the food side of things, I'm completely addicted to, we've got smoked almonds, which I eat way too many of.
Yes,
That's my favorite favorite snack from Nude Foods. Then I'm a big fan of a lot of the personal care products, the zero waste toothbits, which are like the toothpaste tablets.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought you meant the wooden the
bamboo toothbrushes. Those two.
From you guys as well.
But I mean, most people use a traditional kind of tube of toothpaste. These tablets allow you to kind of eliminate the need for that plastic tube. So it's just and they're refillable, which is great. Shampoo bars.
Yes,
I haven't used traditional shampoo in the sense in the squeezy or pump bottle kind of formats in well over a decade now. So
amazing.
I'm a big fan of shampoo bars. And then on the home front, biodegradable refuse bags is something I use a lot of myself. And just eco-friendly cleaning products. We've got a natural eco bleach, which is amazing for clothes and stain removal.
Great.
So those are a few.
How difficult is it to hire for a sustainable business? Because one of the standout qualities that I've noticed at Nude Foods, I mean, your team members are amazing. They always have a smile on their face. They're knowledgeable. They're helpful. And they just genuinely seem happy to be where they are, which is something quite rare in Cape Town, especially in customer service. Like this is something Cape Town struggles with a little bit, I think, especially in retail and hospitality and those kinds of industries. So do you have any hiring tips, basically?
Um, sure. I mean, yeah, look, I'd love to tell you that I haven't made any hiring mistakes in the last 9 years of Nude Foods, but I
Okay.
definitely have. I have made one or two. Um, and whether it's Nude Foods or any business,
Yeah.
it's. I mean, I know, like in your bigger type companies and corporates, they've got probably a lot more sophisticated HR departments and hiring mechanisms. Like in a
Sure.
small business, unfortunately, you don't have. I mean, I definitely don't have an HR manager or person, so
Sure.
it's all me as the owner.
Okay.
And you don't often have the time or the resources to do to interview a person 5 different times.
Yeah.
So a lot of it's gut.
Okay.
You got to kind of trust your gut, and it's obviously in a small business, especially like a founder run business.
Yes.
You got to hire a team that you resonate with and who resonates with you. So
Absolutely.
someone might be amazing, but they just don't.
Yeah.
You just have a clash of personality with them, and it's not going to work out long term, which is something I've definitely experienced firsthand.
Okay.
I think once you've actually hired that person, that's a whole nother discussion, because now this person's kind of coming into your environment and into your culture, if I can put it that way.
Yes. Yeah.
And now you've got a lot of decisions or opportunities on how to kind of entrench or instill a certain culture and
Those values,
certain values to that person. In the case of Nude Foods, I've invested a lot of time and a lot of energy and money on training our team.
Okay.
So and I think I mean, I've been an employee many times before in my life, and I've
Sure.
experienced this firsthand.
Yes.
If your employer is actually investing time and money in you, you're going to hopefully show a lot more enthusiasm and pay a lot more closer attention to your to your job,
Yes.
and also just feel more valued and kind of more valued, more valuable, and just more a bigger part of the team.
Sure.
So I think that's definitely critical, is investing in the team. And it's an ongoing thing. It's not like a one-off task. It's a continuous thing.
As I was saying earlier, running a business, it's as tough as it is already. Running it sustainably, it's it's a whole other ball game. So how do you navigate that constant balance between being profitable and, your sustainable values? Is there any what's your secret sauce, basically? What's that magic behind it?
So that's a great question and a very relevant question.
Yeah.
And it's actually one that a lot of people don't consider.
Sure.
So like for me, the kind of personal ethos around zero waste and Nude Foods,
Yes.
it is not something that I'm kind of negotiable on. So
Okay.
what I mean by that is that, like, from before we even opened the store, I had made a kind of hard and fast decision that this this store will exist with intention of impact
Okay.
behind it. So that being zero waste. So
Okay.
over the years, especially when times have been tough, I mean, the COVID years were extremely tough for us. It's so easy just to stop doing the 10 or 15 things that most people don't even see that you're doing,
Sure.
which all kind of unfortunately require time and money.
Sure.
I'll talk.
Are you referring to like the systems, like SOPs that you have in place, or
Correct.
like
So
framework, or yeah?
correct. So for example, most people experience Nude Foods as a customer, and so on the customer side of the business, it's quite obvious what we're doing. We're allowing people to refill things,
Yes.
to eliminate plastics, single-use plastic, and unnecessary waste. on the supply side of the business, we're doing the exact same thing. So we have 25-liter food safe containers that we circulate with most of our suppliers
Okay.
on a refill basis. So
Sure.
we send empties to them, they fill them, they deliver them. We give
Okay,
them.
so it's actually from both sides.
It's from both sides, and
Yeah.
and arguably the bigger impact probably happens on the supply side,
Okay.
or at least an equal impact happens on the supply side as it does on
Sure.
the customer side. So so that's what I was referencing. It would be quite easy to stop doing that and to just eliminate the energy and time and extra cost of doing that.
Sure.
But firstly, like my team and a lot of my team have been with me like since we opened. So we've got some long-standing employees who have bought fully into the ethos of the business.
Amazing.
So
Yeah.
I think by stopping to do that, it would also kind of dishearten and discourage a lot of the team.
Sure.
But besides that, I think the minute we kind of stop prioritizing that very specific ethos and also the
Yeah.
things that make us unique, we're just going to become another health store
Yeah.
and kind of fade into obscurity. So, this is our kind of unique selling point or our unique characteristic.
Sure.
Besides the actual environmental and social impact that we have.
So, when you first conceived Nude Foods, the global zero waste movement, it was just kind of starting to gain momentum. How would you say that, things have changed over the last decade? Would you say that, it's gone slower than expected, faster than expected? Like what kind of, how would you say that you've seen a change over that time?
So I need to answer that in look with two perspectives, like an
Okay.
international perspective and then a South African
Sure.
perspective.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
internationally, unfortunately, the COVID years actually created like a huge reverse on the zero waste trend.
Okay.
So with
With all of the masks and everything.
correct. So people became very germ
gloves,
phobic, and they
yes.
didn't want their food to be unpackaged. In fact, they wanted the opposite. They wanted things to be triple wrapped.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
there was definitely like an about turn with that trend, because leading up to COVID, the movement was growing year on year. There was like a lot of momentum, and then the COVID years kind of sent it backwards by probably 5 years.
Oh no.
Um,
Yeah.
And then unfortunately, a lot of zero waste stores, not just in South Africa but around the world, didn't survive COVID either. So
Oh, okay.
so the movement lost a lot of people, or at least retailers.
Okay.
So since then, we've slowly seen it growing again, and it's getting more and more traction. So if I look internationally, there are what it's come down to is the zero waste retailers in various parts of the world who are doing a really good job of it.
Yeah.
They've survived, and they are slowly growing now and
Okay.
like opening new stores and
That's
things like that.
reassuring, at least. Yeah.
But they were maybe like the 10% that where that's the case. There are many other stores that have either closed or have just kind of stalled. They're just kind of in a holding pattern. So they aren't really
Okay.
they're surviving, but they're not really like thriving or
Thriving.
flourishing.
Yeah.
But the reason I specify South Africa specifically is because there's two brands that I follow very closely. I
Okay.
actually know the founders both.
Yeah.
The one is Skubu, which is based in Diepsloot on the Highveld.
Okay.
They've got a store there, and the other one is called Kwalisa, which is Western Cape based. Both these stores are quite different to the Nude Foods offering in the sense that they focus on more mainstream FMCG type products,
Okay.
which has a much wider audience, and they also focus on the financial saving from shopping with a refill system.
Okay. Sure.
So even though I'm sure the customers who support these stores feel great about the fact that they helping the environment, their
Yes.
main priority is cost saving.
Okay.
So which is fantastic,
Yeah, it's like
because
two birds, one stone.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think it's also what's required in a South African context for something like this to get traction and to get like economies of scale. So both those brands are doing really good jobs of it, and I've been watching them really closely.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be great to actually consider a model like that for Nude Foods in the future. I think that technology plays a big part with both those brands. They've done a really good job at actually like harnessing tech in when I mean harnessing tech, I'm talking about like in the actual physical stores. So like the dispensers that are dispensing their products are like smart dispensers. So
so it's like automatic. You can put in
Correct.
the exact grammage, and then it will just.
Exactly right.
Okay.
So they're smart dispensers in the sense that they can dispense a lot more accurately, but
Okay.
also it allows you to control your stock and also
Yeah.
and to measure your sales and all that. So everything's kind of is kind of
Automated.
automated and IoT enabled. So
Like inventory and everything's probably calculated, like, I mean, just by weight. So at any given point in time, you can just kind of look and just see what's your stock,
exactly
what needs to be removed. Like, yeah.
Which is the idea of that is an absolute dream in the nude food context.
Sure, instead of doing it
because our store's
manually.
very manual. A lot of it requires.
But I think that's also kind of its charm in a way. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely, sure.
it's kind of the
But I think there's a happy
community.
medium, like where you can actually
Yes.
still retain that charm, but just have
those technological benefits as well.
correct, having like technology work for you.
Well, look, you're the expert. So for South Africans who are listening to everything that you have to say and they would like to adopt a more sustainable lifestyle or more sustainable habits and get into that zero waste lifestyle, what would you suggest as, you know, just some simple habits that they would be able to follow through on now?
For me, I always like focus on like the low hanging fruit, like at least the things that I consider would be easy swaps.
Sure.
And like one of the main ones is, for example, using a keep cup. Now, most of us are tea or coffee drinkers, and everyone likes their morning coffee.
Yes.
But just using a keep cup, which I think isn't too far a stretch for most people. Like I think a lot of people have already taken on that habit, but just not using a disposable, consuming a disposable cup every single morning. So things like using a keep cup. I mean, another thing which I think a lot of South Africans have already adopted, but definitely more could, is using like a reusable shopping bag. So a tote bag, or most of the mainstream retailers now offer reusable bags. Just to eliminate the single-use plastic bags. I think that makes a huge difference if you consider how many times a year you go to the grocery store. Reusable straws, or just refusing straws. I know there are a lot of compostable straws now in the market. Which is great to see. And then the other thing to consider is and a lot of people don't actually realize this, but just the products you're using in your home. So a lot of the mainstream products are filled with chemicals, things like dishwashing liquid, as an example.
Into the water system.
So exactly. So that's something you're using sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, and it's going into the water table. So just choosing, obviously budget allowing, but just choosing more eco-friendly versions of those kind of daily use products.
Paul, as we come to the end of the podcast, I wanted to ask you, what's next for you? What's next for Paul Rubin, or what's next for Nude Foods? What are the next steps? Do you have anything, big coming up on the horizon?
Well, for Nude Foods, I would love to look at integrating. I mentioned now those smart dispensers and that type of technology. I'd love to look at actually a Nude Foods model, which actually takes advantage of that kind of tech, which would allow the operations to become a lot easier. And I think as a kind of impact of that would allow for kind of more stores, or to kind of scale or replicate the concept.
Sure.
So I think that's kind of where I'm focusing my attention at the moment.
Okay. So it's like streamlining everything, just streamlining the entire operation and making it more effective.
Correct. I think that when I first opened the store, We got a lot of social media attention. In fact, a lot of media attention in general.
Sure.
And I actually still have this list, but I got close to 100 different people emailing me asking me if they could buy franchises. Like
Okay.
they
Yeah,
loved
that
the
would be
concept.
great. Yeah.
They want, but at the time there was no way, and even 9 years later, it still doesn't really feel like feasible to me, and
Okay.
that's mainly because there's so many moving parts to the model. There's so many things that require daily attention. I think in order to actually offer something that could be franchised or just easily replicated, it would need to be simplified like a hell of a lot. And I think
Sure.
that's where the kind of the tech would come in and help.
Okay, so Paul, if people would like to connect with you, they're hearing about the brand, they're fans of the brand, or just connect with you personally, what are those social media handles, or how can they do that?
So our website is a good reference. It's
Sure.
nudefoods.co.za. And then social media, we are at nudefoods.za.
Okay.
And my personal email is paul@nudefoods.co.za if anyone would like to
Amazing.
contact me.
Okay, perfect. Paul, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Likewise.
And we're going to be watching Nude Foods and seeing it just rise to new heights, I'm sure.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Amazing.
It's been
Thank
great
you so
being here.
much.